Rahman Rahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, amma ba'd. If we can open at the chapter of Kitab al-Nikah, please. It is page number 30. 31? Yeah, 31, yes.
If we show the single brothers come to the first row, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kitab al-Nikah. So it is the chapter of Nikah. So as you can see, it is the 16th chapter in Sahih Muslim. Before we will go to the Hadith, al-Nikah in Arabic language has two meanings. One is marriage, and that is metaphoric meaning, and the literal meaning is sexual intercourse, according to Hanafi. So it is other way around, according to Shafi'is. Okay. قال المصنف رحمه الله ونفعنا بعلومه وبكم آمين. باب استحباب النكاح لمن تاقت نفسه إليه ووجد مؤنة. It is the chapter of recommendation. استحباب means it's recommended to marry لمن تاقت نفسه إليه. The one who is desiring, so it is recommended, as long as he has mu'na. So as long as he has the financial, you can say, side ready. واشتغال من عجز عن المؤن بالصوم. And it is a chapter also about the person who is unable to provide financially for the marriage. So it is a recommendation to fast. We are going to come back to the name of the chapter. حدثنا يحيى بن يحيى التميمي أو التيمي وأبو بكر ابن أبي شيبة ومحمد بن العلاء الهمداني جميعا عن أبي معاوية واللفظ ليحيى. أخبرنا أبو معاوية عن الأعمش عن إبراهيم عن علقمة قال كنت أمشي مع عبد الله بمنى. It is the golden chain of أهل كوفة. أعمش from Ibrahim al-Nakhai, from Alqama, from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu. It is the golden chain of Ahl Kufa. It was in Mina. فلقيه عثمان فقام معه يحدثه. And then Abdullah ibn Mas'ud met Uthman radiallahu anhu in Mina in Hajj. Okay? So Alqama was with Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And then they started speaking. فقام معه يحدثه. فقال له عثمان, and Uthman radiallahu anhu said, يا أبا عبد الرحمن ألا نزوجك جارية شابة. He said, Oh Abu Abdul Rahman, do you want us to marry some young lady off to you? So he said, لعلها تذكرك بعض ما مضى من زمانك. So he's saying, so it may happen that she will give you some, like you can say, psychological, maybe a peace of her mind. قال فقال عبد الله بن مسعود said لئن قلت ذاك لقد قال لنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, well, you are saying it, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did say the following hadith. Ya ma'ashara shabab. So in that time, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was quite old person. So by this hadith, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is opposing the statement of Uthman radiallahu anhu. He's saying, Ya ma'ashara shabab. Rasulullah said, O youth, O young people, من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج. Any of you, any amongst you who is able to provide financially, so let him to marry. فليتزوج, let him to marry. فإنه أغض للبصر وأحسن للفرج. Because it is better to lower a gaze, as well as it is better to protect the private place. But in terms of ومن لم يستطع, and anyone who is unable, فعليه بالصوم. So let him to fast. فإنه له وجاء. Because fasting is protection for him. In this hadith, I say it is one of the hadith which is literal meaning rejected by ijma, not including zahiris. As you know, if zahiris oppose ijma, we do not consider their opposition as anything. Zahiris means Dawud Zahiri as well as Ibn Hazm, Muhammad Ibn Hazm. Anyway, now very beautiful point. What was the first of all the meaning, the literal meaning of the hadith? Man istata'a minkum al-ba'a falyatazawwaj. So let him to marry. That is command, order. Am I right? But what was the name of the chapter by Imam Muslim? Istihbab. As you can see, Muhaddis is opposing the literal meaning of the hadith. Rasulullah says, do it. Imam Muslim says, mustahab. Did you understand? So it is really good proof for us to understand that not each single hadith is taken literally. Because hadith says, let him to marry. Imam Muslim says, it's recommended. It's two different things. Okay, and that is the understanding of Muhaddis. That is one thing. The second thing is, do we have anyone, according to Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah saying, anyone who is capable, financial, to maintain a family, it is wajib or farz upon him to marry. Do we have anyone? We do not have anyone. Okay, so it is by ijma rejected. The literal meaning of the hadith by ijma rejected. Okay. Another thing, Rasulullah says, but anyone who is unable, so let him to fast. Now another question, because hadith is فَعَلَيْهِ, it is compulsory upon him. So do I have any of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah groups, madhahib, saying the one who does not have financial capability to marry, it is far for him to fast? Do I have anyone saying it? We do not have. Literal meaning of the hadith is rejected by ijma. It's again by ijma. Okay. Actually, Zahiris took the first bit of the hadith saying marriage, initial status of marriage is fard. Okay, and that is also rejected. Okay, the highest that we went as Ahlul Sunnah, we said it is fard ala al-kifaya. Means if one will marry, compulsion will go. Okay, now let's speak about following issues. First of all, what is the status of a marriage? Is it fard or is it wajib? Is it mubah? What is that, please?
Sunnah.
Sunnah, muakkada. Okay. Who said something else? Okay, anything else, please? In your condition? Okay, so what type of conditions are available there? What are the conditions available in the market?
Five moons.
Okay, which is?
Farm.
Okay, so when it will be found? To provide.
Yeah.
To provide
For the family,
for the
etc.
Okay, so for example, if I want to provide for my mother a servant, so then it's far to marry.
Maybe
Providing for family.
maybe if you're going to fall into zina.
Okay, mashallah, excellent. We say first is wajib, means fard. If you are scared that you are going to fall into the zina, adultery, you are unable to protect yourself from the sin, wajib to marry. Okay, that is first hukum. The second hukum is initial status of a marriage. Within Hanafi Madhab we have two opinions, and the mu'tamad opinion that it is sunnah mu'akkada. Okay? But what about if you want to give your life for the knowledge or for serving the people? You are capable to marry, but you are not going to marry. We say not performing sunnah does not constitute sin according to the Hanafi madhab. So not performing marriage is not a sin. Okay? So that is, first is wajib, second is sunnah muakkada, initial status, and third is makruh. Makruh tahriman in Hanafi madhab. It will be makruh tahriman to marry if you have bad morals. You are going to hurt your wife. You have very bad temper. Okay, so then is makruh tahriman to marry. Why? Because you will be oppressing. Oppression is haram. So it is makruh tahriman for you to marry if you are man of bad character. Okay. The last one is haram. It will be haram if you do not have a financial maintenance ready. You do not financially, you are not ready. You do not have money to pay for the food and mahr and etc. So it is haram in Hanafi madhab to marry. Even we have another position. They say, Qadi Khan says, in our time it should not be valid. That marriage should. Why? Because marriage may happen, but then they will be unable to invalidate it. And then the lady will get oppressed. Because in Hanafi madhab, marriage will not be invalidated by husband being unable. After the marriage, during the marriage he was capable to maintain. But after that he lost all of the money, he bankrupted. So in Hanafi madhab, by that reason we cannot split them up. In Shafi'i they can. Did you understand? So in Hanafi we cannot split them up. So that's why latest Hanafis say, just to avoid the future problems, being unable to split them up, so we say that it is not valid from the beginning, if there is no financial side on place. Okay, so that them are the ahkam of the marriage, yes.
Sheikh, this question related to this. There was a program a little while back where they were showing how Muslims divorce in this country.
Yeah.
And what they showed is that there was a man who used to beat his wife,
Yeah.
abuse her and stuff. But the sheikh goes, the scholar who was deciding on the divorce, he goes to the woman, according to Islam, the child must go to the father. But the child was abusing and beating the kid. And obviously it was on Panorama where they're showing how wrong and like look at Islam and like forcing the kid. So, and I know Islam says this, but what is that?
No, it's very sad. It's again one of those things that we are facing in our time, because they will bring only one hadith, then they will crash with only one hadith, they will crash ayat and hadith. There is one hadith in which Rasulullah says, لا يسأل الرجل عن ضرب زوجته أو عن ضرب امرأته. Okay, so that is, as far as I know, it is authentic hadith. Means a man will not be questioned why he has beaten up his wife. Means do it and no one has a right to question you. Why did you do it? Now by this hadith we are destroying the ayat. فَإِنْ أَطَعْنَكُمْ فَلَا تَبْغُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ سَبِيلًا. Means if there will be good pious ladies, then don't touch them. By this hadith, we're just destroying this ayah, and there are many, الظُّلْمُ ظُلُمَاتٌ, for example. So only by one, we found one hadith. Now let's use it and let's destroy all of them ayat and ahadith. It is wrong mentality, you know. So based on this one, we are giving full right for both, like for the husband and father. But Islamically, oppression is haram. If there would be a judge, Muslim judge, definitely he would avoid the oppression of the father by taking away the kids.
So
We need to look into the matter more closer. What exactly is happening in there?
well, if the father was abusive and the wife's divorced, who would the kid then go to?
No, normally, initial status that before child will be able to look after himself in terms of toilet and eating, child will be with the mother. After that, boy will go to the father. But girl will stay with the mother up to the maturity age, because mother is responsible to teach the daughter, how to look after herself in terms of monthly cycle. Father is unable to do it. Unless if wife marries, straight away she loses the right of holding the kids. Straight away they go not to the husband, but to the grandmother. But in my own knowledge, it will be mother side grandmother in Hanafi madhab, if I'm not mistaken. So the right will go to the mother side grandmother first, then father side grandmother second.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but that only if lady will marry. But if she will stay single, so she will hold the right of keeping the daughter up to the age of maturity, just to teach her the last thing about how to clean yourself after the monthly bleeding.
Then they go to the father.
After that, go to father, yeah, because after that, girl will need protection.
But if the father's, in this case, you're talking about that the father's very violent, just like an alcoholic, he's Muslim but alcoholic, he's violent, for example. Would we still send the children to the man?
So we need to look into the exact situation, but just general thing, I say we will not let the oppression to go through. We do not let the kids to the father, but we have to have very obvious proofs. Okay? Not because people are saying.
Yes, what's the minimum financial commitment to get married in a Hanafi school?
We say mahar is must, fard. Besides that, you have to keep the standard. And what is the meaning of standard? Standard will be depending on the husband and wife, according to the Mu'tamad. But according to the Zahir Riwayah, it will be depending on the how was the journey sailing? Everything mashallah. والله سفر طويل جدا. Sheikh Abdullah, the expert of قراءات العشر 14 ما شاء الله, the 10 متواتر قراءات. So we do have the expert. So anyone who's interested, it's very rare, especially in our time, especially in the UK. So we do have the Imam here, inshallah. Imam of Qira'at in the UK, inshallah. Yeah, so... okay, anyway, in terms of standard, will be... So in Mu'tamad, in Hanafi, will be depending on both of husband and wife. So, if both of husband and wife, they are rich, means husband has to provide the standard of the rich families in that custom, in that tradition. So for example, rich families in the UK, normally they eat, for example, as minimum once a day meat. They change once a year clothes, new clothes. So standard, we have to look into the main standard, okay? But if both of them are poor, so then the level of poor people, okay? But if wife is rich and husband is poor, so then, according to Zahir Riwayah, the standard of the poor. Okay, but we say, Mu'tamad position, the standard of the rich. Okay, so we'll look. But what about if it is other way around? So we say, in the middle. Okay, so not the rich and not the poor, so it is in the middle. So that is the financial support, that is the nafaqah. According to the Hanafi madhab, yes.
Sheikh, can I just ask about the hadith you mentioned that a man won't be asked about?
As far as I know, it is in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, as far as I know. And mashallah, brothers love to quote that.
Oh no, and Islamophobes love to quote it as well.
Okay.
But are you saying it's a hadith which isn't acted on or is rejected?
Rejected, because if we go with it, we have to reject hundreds of other ahadith and ayat, which is specifically talking about the women, wife, as well as generally speaking about the oppression.
So rejected.
Rejected, because Allah says, فَإِنْ أَطَعْنَكُمْ, if they will be obedient, pious ladies, فَلَا تَبْغُوا إِلَيْهِنَّ, so then do not oppress them. And this hadith is saying, do not ask man why is he beating his wife. Just let them. Do you understand? So we cannot, because by accepting it, we're destroying so many ahadith and ayat. Okay? Yes, so there are many ahadith about this specific matter also. So it is again the same problem is coming. So we have mutawatir hadith, we have mashhur hadith. And then we have just one-off ahadith. And in our time it is fashionable to find the truth through one-off ahadith, you know. But what about all of mutawatir? It looks like Mulanas. It looks like Molvi, next local Mulana. Okay, backward. So let's do something new. What is the new? Just one of ahadith, we are finding the truth through one of ahadith and fight against the nation, whole nation. Okay, so it is that type of things. Okay, rejected. We do not care. Okay, as far as I know, it is in Muslim Imam Ahmad. Yeah.
Sheikh, friend just asked, the brother before asked about the meher. So just to clarify, what would be like the minimum?
In Hanafi madhab, 10 dirhams, something about 50 pounds. 50 pounds. But we go with the urf, whatever you specify, or if you do not specify, we go with the tradition, culture. Yeah, I'm really happy that I'm not Bangladeshi, because mashallah, Bangladeshis, they do have quite high mahar. Amar, I said it? Yeah, so any Bangladeshi brother married, you have to say that he's multi-millionaire, but hidden one. Big mahar, big mahar, big mahar. Yeah.
So what if there's agreement between husband and wife?
We go with that one, yeah. But it shouldn't be less than 10 dirhams, 50 pounds. But if it is less, you have to pay him the 10 dirhams.
And what about the nafqa, if there's agreement for
it is
different
okay,
arrangements?
mashallah, good point. It is the right of the lady. It is the right of the lady to demand for the nafaqa. But there are some certain rights of the lady. After the agreement, she cannot take it back. But nafaqa, in my knowledge, is one of the agreements which belongs to her by Sharia, means she can take it back. Even after her saying, I don't want it, straight after the marriage, she can say, I want it now. So, sukna, place of living, and nafaqa, there are two things. If she says, I don't want it, that's fine, but even after saying, I don't want it, she can demand it back. It never just falls forever. Yeah. Sukna, I'm 100% sure in terms of property. But in terms of nafaqa, I need to double check, but I'm still 90% sure that it is something that will come back to her if she wants to. Okay. Now, so these are the main ahkam of the marriage. So as you can see, it is one of the hadith which narrated by a Muslim, and even Imam Muslim didn't take it literally. Okay, so now mashallah it's very fashionable, just quoting hadith and putting pressure on you to accept it as he understands, not as Rasulullah ﷺ meant. Okay? So, that is about nikah. If you have any question, you can ask, yes.
Sheikh, this sounds like a strange question, but
Yeah?
I know some young people, they've been going to their local mosques
Yeah.
and asking imams, you know, like they can't marry because of whatever reason.
Yeah.
And imam is saying, oh, you should fast, you should fast.
Yeah.
And then literally this can go on for like years.
Yeah.
So like, isn't it a bit weird to keep, to me, when people tell me this, it always sounds very strange that they're telling you to fast for so, like that's the only solution they have is just fast, fast, fast. Is that how the hadith is to be understood?
No, actually, first of all, it is advice as like way of trying to you can say hide it or maybe push it down, maybe. Okay, or but in terms of compulsion, no one said it. Okay, as well as maybe obviously whatever Rasulullah gives advice, that's the best one, the best advice. Okay. But if you just go back to the time of Rasulullah ﷺ, we didn't used to have this type of attractions that we have now. You are unable to walk outside without your eye falling on some certain thing. So even then, because as long as there is something which carries on reminding you about marriage, about sexual activities, okay, so even you by fasting, it doesn't mean that you're not going to eat at all. Right now, you do not have energy because you're fasting. But after sunset, you're going to eat. And then, whatever you sow in the streets, it will come back. Energy is there, so you may fall there. Okay? So it is something very temporary. Why? Because initial status, you have to marry. Okay? So, that is good advice. But then, some of the scholars give another advices, just to keep yourself like busy with some certain... But again, it is the same as... because sexual activities, it is in our nature, it is an instinct. So when you are hungry of a food, you are unable to avoid it anyhow you want. Why? Because it is in our nature. Okay? So you can say, even if you will like convince yourself that you are eating, and then you will move your mouth. But nothing is falling into your stomach, you know. Okay, so it is in our, so it is temporary solution. Because Rasulullah did not come to fight against the nature. Okay, but he may just give us some certain, you can say, temporary thing to do until you will be able to marry. So initial status, you should marry. Should does not mean farz, but it is sunnah mu'akkada. Okay, so that's it then.
Sheikh,
That's it, yeah?
sorry, just one more question. I know a friend of mine who went to Pakistan a few years back, and he was actually forced into marriage.
Yeah.
It was a situation where he was forced into marriage. I think it was at gunpoint, and they put down the mayor at 10 lakh. And then they said, right, you know, obviously he wanted to get away from that, so he got back. But in Pakistan now, there's like a one-ton for him, whatever. It was basically done to get the mayor from him. So, what does Islam say on that? Is that a valid nikah?
No, first of all, I've heard about lady being forced to marry. Some like a brother being forced to marry. So it's a bit strange actually.
Oh, it's common. Even in university, I had so many friends who were British-born men and being forced to marry. Like, you know, like mother is saying, I will die if you don't marry. Or, you know,
this
this
was
kind
at
of
gunpoint. This was at some wrong
like
people basically got involved.
emotional
and said to him,
gunpoint.
sign.
Yeah, literal, yeah.
Yeah, at gunpoint. Wrong people said to him, sign, you know, 10 lakh mayor and everything. Then he said, right, now you've got to give us the mayor. So, what does Islam say on this?
Look, in terms of a lady being forced, in Hanafi Madhab it is valid. Means it is being forced is valid. Means as soon as she will be away from the person who is forcing, she will have a choice. But husband, it's not valid. Him being forced means he doesn't have a choice. Why? Because he has a divorce in his hand. Lady does not have nothing. Okay, so that's one thing. But then there is another thing on which being forced is valid, that is mahar. Okay, so we say he has been forced to pay money. When he signs it, as soon as that being forced goes, for example, with my gun, I'm saying sign the paper, mahar is 10,000 pounds, for example, and then this is valid. Me forcing you is valid. As soon as I will go away from you, now you can stand up saying, I was forced, I'm choosing to not to do it. Means, but now we're in between two problems. One is you paying 10,000 and marriage. Marriage in Hanafi Madhab, you are not forced. That is not valid forcing. Means, marriage is valid, but payment is not valid. So what do you do? We say, this is marriage with no mahar being specified. You have to give a standard. What is the standard? We go to that tribe to find out what would be the price of a mahar of this type of lady. For example, it would be 100 pounds. So you have to pay that much. Because being forced in marriage in Hanafi is not valid from the man's side. But being forced to pay money is valid. So that's why marriage is valid, but money is not valid. You have to pay mahar, normal mahar. That's it, yeah. But then you cannot say, I'm choosing to not to be, and then separation will, it never happens. Because marriage is valid, you can get separated only by divorce, and divorce is in your hand.
But then, even if you divorce, it's less to give them that as well.
Yeah, because in marriage, man is never forced. That is not valid force. Yeah.
Make a business on this.
Yeah.
It's a business. They force people to marriage, then they get the money from them.
No, but is it a joke or something?
No, it's a way to make money.
It's like bandits. You know, like kidnapping. It's a very, yeah.
Okay, so they do demand the money then, like that, in the court actually.
So yeah, like it's kind of like, you know, I force you and say, oh, but it's a marriage, it's valid, so give me the money. It's like a scam.
And then obviously the police gets involved as well, but you know they're going to see the papers, the signature.
No, but Pakistan, the main madhab in Pakistan is Hanafi, so they should know this.
No one follows anything. main people don't follow.
No, but Grand Mufti is Hanafi, isn't he? Grand Mufti and Supreme Judge is also Hanafi. Sheikh Uthaymeen, as far as I know, he's Hanafi. Isn't he?
But how do you prove like if there's a paper here and have my signature on it,
No, but then he said he claims. He comes and claims that. That's it, yeah.
And is his claim valid?
Actually, judge will decide that. So obviously he will not have proof for that, am I right?
Yes, no proof. Yeah. So they're thinking maybe he just got excited and put 10 lakh down, then realised
Yeah.
that they can't pay it. So.
Don't go back to Pakistan.
It's a good point actually.
Well, that's what my friend's doing. He's not going to go back because as soon as he goes back, they'll arrest him because they put like a notice that he's wanted, and then they'll obviously probably put him in jail and take the money from him as well.
Yeah, so something similar happened in the time of Dawood alayhi salam, if you remember. Okay, sometimes that hidden thing you can use a strategy to make it because we in Islam we do not have a right to judge on the hidden thing, but on what you see. Okay, so if you remember, some in the religion of Dawood alayhi salam, for example, doing that type of strange activities with the animals would equal adultery. Someone came, 4 people came claiming that about some lady. So 4 people, now there is no way. Okay, Dawood alayhi salam requested about them. Dawood alayhi salam knows that they're playing, but prophets are not allowed in some certain places to judge upon what they know, but what they have got. Did you understand? So 4 witnesses. So then Sulaiman alayhi salam was there also, but he knew how to bring it into the Zahir level. So what did he do? Okay, so Sulaiman alayhi salam, he questioned the 4 witnesses individually. Okay, asking what was the color of the dog. One said black, one said red, one said white, one said different thing, you know. So then Sulaiman alayhi salam gave them lashes of accusing. Okay, but Dawood alayhi salam did not do that because he was judging upon Zahir. So that's why Allah says, فَفَحْنَاهَا Sulaiman. We did let Sulaiman to understand how to bring that hidden thing into the obvious. So, Zahir religion, we do not have a right to judge in the hidden, but into the obvious thing, you know. Okay, so I would advise the judge to use this type of strategy to bring the hidden into the obvious level, then to judge on that one. Yeah. So, for example, one of the things could be a person is poor. Poor person never could write, for example, 10,000 pounds. But what about, for example, someone is multimillionaire? Most likely he may do it. Okay? But it's tricky point actually, yes. Okay, anyway. The next is the chapter number 21. باب في صفة الدجال وتحريم المدينة عليه وقتله المؤمن وإحيائه. It is a chapter about description of Dajjal. As you know, we as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we do believe on 2 types of signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah. One is major, one is minor. In terms of minor, no disagreement. But in terms of a major, there is big disagreement between Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah from one side, Mu'tazila and Ja'faris, as far as I know, Zaydis also, from the other side. My question to you guys, Imam Mahdi, is he one of the major signs or minor? He's minor. He is minor. The major is Yajuj Majuj, Dajjal, Dabba, that animal. Am I right? Okay, so Isa alayhi salam coming down. Mu'tazila and the Ja'faris, Shia, they said there is no such a thing as major signs. Why? Because of 2 main things. First one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها. They ask you when Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to happen. قل إنما علمها عند ربي لا يجليها لوقتها إلا هو. Okay? Say to them that knowledge of when it's going to happen it belongs to God, and Allah is going to disclose when it's going to happen, exactly when it will happen. ثقلت في السماوات والأرض. And knowing it, or actual Yawm al-Qiyamah is very heavy for the heavens and earth. لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة. And it's not going to happen except suddenly, بغتة. So whenever Allah speaks about Yawm al-Qiyamah in more than 30 places, all the time Allah says it happens بغتة, suddenly. Now question, suddenly, what's the meaning of suddenly? We say it is opposite of unexpectedly. Means you cannot expect it. Am I right? So if you expect it, means it's not suddenly. So when we speak about major signs, so for example, not yet Dajjal came. So now, concept of Yawm al-Qiyamah happening suddenly, is it there or not? If we believe on Dajjal, it is not there. Why? Because yet we're expecting something before Yawm al-Qiyamah. So the concept of suddenly is disappearing. Means we have to destroy over 30 ayat in which Allah says, لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة. Bغتة means suddenly. That is one proof of Mu'tazila and Shia. The second proof, it is the hadith, two hadith. One hadith of Jibreel. What is the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam?
When he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and taught him about
Excellent.
Islam and
Excellent. So when Jibreel asked about Yawm al-Qiyamah, Rasulullah said, "Man mas'ulu anha bi'a'lam min as-sa'il." So the one who has been questioned does not have more knowledge than the one who is asking. After that, Jibreel said, "Wama amaratuha." What are the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah? But then, question: what Rasulullah gave? Did Rasulullah give a major signs? Or did he give minor signs? And تَلِدَ الْأَمَةُ رَبَّتَهَا. Okay, she's there giving birth of her master. She master. As well as you will see the people, shoeless people and shepherd, they are racing with each other in terms of building higher buildings. Okay, so now question, normally if you are asked for the description, will you give small description or will you give the main ones? Main ones. If they would be the main ones, concept of major, okay, signs, Rasulullah would give the main ones instead of small ones. Because Rasulullah didn't give the main ones, so small means there is no main major signs. That is the second thing. And third thing, hadith is actually very famous, in which Rasulullah, if you remember, when Ibrahim passed away, son of Rasulullah, if you remember, Rasulullah says, لَوْ عَاشَ لَكَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. If Ibrahim would stay alive, he would be a truthworthy prophet about his son. Okay, so as, for example, Ishaq and Ismail, they were sons of prophet. Both are prophets, son of prophet. So that's how Ibrahim would be prophet, son of prophet. Okay, alayhi salam. So then anyway, so when Ibrahim son of Rasulullah in the breastfeeding age passed away, some eclipses happened. Do you remember? So in the hadith, I'm going to read the hadith. Hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari anyway. Hadith number 1010. عن أبي موسى الأشعري قال خسفت الشمس فقام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فزعا يخشى أن تكون الساعة. So when these sun eclipses happened, Rasulullah was scared. Why? يخشى أن تكون الساعة. Scared, thinking that Yawm al-Qiyamah started. No, if it would be major signs, is it permissible for the Prophet to doubt on the message or not, on the revelation? It's not permissible, it's not possible, am I right? So if there would be revelation of the major signs, why Prophet would think that Yawm al-Qiyamah started? So these are three main proofs. First proof, over 30 ayat of Baghda, concept of suddenly Yawm al-Qiyamah happening, first proof. Second proof, Hadith Jibreel, Rasulullah didn't mention any of the major sins. He didn't say Yajuj Majuj, he didn't say Isa Dajjal, etc. Fatih Constantinople, and all of them. Qudus, he never mentioned any of them. Second thing. Third thing, when eclipses happened, Rasulullah was scared, thinking that it is Yawm al-Qiyamah. If there would be concept of major signs, Prophet wouldn't have a right to doubt on the revelation. Did you understand? Okay, so these are the proofs. I say, you are the Sunnah, okay, all of you are Wahhabis. Why? Because you guys are going against so many proofs. Ayat, over 30 ayat. Again, you are going against Hadith Jibreel and the last Hadith of Bukhari. What do you think? Anyone can respond? You see, you guys say we follow Quran and Sunnah. You guys follow Quran and Sunnah in terms of opposing. You follow Quran and Sunnah to oppose it, you know? Yeah. What do you think? I say, mashallah, good point from Mu'tazila and the Shia. What do you think?
Then Sheikh, there's going to be ayahs and hadiths that are from the Al-Sunnah point of view as well. So by taking these, so hadiths is exactly what you were explaining before, where you take one or two hadiths to ignore all the others.
Okay, so you give me these ayahs, please.
We wait for you to give them. Sheikh,
Yeah.
in regards to this the baptism suddenly,
Yeah.
is this understood by Ahlul Sunnah as being after all these major signs?
After that,
After these, but still, even after all the signs come, the hour is not established to the end of the last sign. It's not immediate, and still the world goes on and goes on and goes on, and no one knows that exact time when the sword is blown and the actual Qiyamah starts.
Okay, mashallah. Means, Baghdad, it was not in the time of Rasulullah. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm suggesting a possible answer.
But after the signs, then it will happen Baghdad. Means now this ayah is not effective. Over 30 ayat will be effective only after all of them signs. That's what you're trying to say.
When the Qiyam, if you want to defend the signs, they're still to come. They have to come. If you do want to defend those major signs, then I'm saying that it's after those 10 signs.
Okay, then it will be certainly.
Then the exact time of the
will be certainly.
Will be suddenly.
So certainly right now is not effective. These over 30 ayat are not effective right now, because yet many things to be expected.
According to
our understanding. Is that what you are saying? Okay, accepted. Anyway, your answer is accepted. Anything else, please? Yes, Wahhabis. In terms of the Mu'tazila, in terms of, mashallah, Imam Sahib is here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَدْ جَاءَ أَشْرَاطُهَا, means the signs of it, جَاءَ. جَاء, is it past tense or is it future tense? Past. جَاء فعل ماضي, past. Means signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah came. أخرجنا عليهم دابة. What is that? Dabba. Allah says, يُكَلِّمُ النَّاسِ. So it is the animal which speaks to the people. It is the Dabba of Salih alayhi salam, camel of Salih alayhi salam. Okay, that is one thing. But what about Isa alayhi salatu wassalam? Whole concept of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam being one of the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah says, وَإِنَّهُ لَعِلْمٌ لِلسَّاعَةِ. Isa alayhi salam is one of the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, which happened. Quran doesn't say which yet to come, but it says Isa is one of the signs of closeness of Yawm al-Qiyamah, and he came already. Allah says, اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر. One of another sign of Yawm al-Qiyamah, moon splitting into two, in shaqqa, past also, happened, expired, over. So Mu'tazila are quite strong, you know. You see, so many Wahhabis are sitting and know any word, you know, except just open mouth, just waiting. Good, mashallah, you know. As well as Yajuj Majuj, it did happen and expired in the time of Dhul Qarnayn.
What about rising of the sun in
All of the signs, the major signs, all of them have happened and expired. There is no any to wait. Look, I answered the question already, yes.
That's like, that's the knowledge of Allah some of the that is not time bound. So some have happened, some haven't happened. In terms of our witnessing of the science.
Huh? Okay, so theoretical answer. Practically, can you show me in which ayah? Theoretically is good, mashallah. Yeah.
Isn't it correct that when the sun rises from the west,
Yeah.
then no tawbah is accepted? But we know that Allah accepts tawbah.
It is Yawm al-Qiyamah actually. They say it is not sign, but it is actually Yawm al-Qiyamah.
So they reject this the hadith that mentions the 10 signs.
Of course.
Or they,
They say all of them are khabar al-ahad.
So we have to find ayat, is what you're saying.
Yes. Or mutawatir hadith, which does not exist according to Mu'tazila and Shia. They say Isa alayhi salatu wasalam died and he is buried in Kashmir. Men buried Zindabad, you know?
And they say Dukhan happened in the time of the Prophet.
Sorry?
So they say Dukhan happened in the time of the Prophet.
Exactly. Not them. Ibn Mas'ud says 3 of the signs passed. Ibn Mas'ud says one of them is Dukhan, one of them is moon splitting. Dukhan means it happened like on the way that people became so hungry. No any fruits will be growing and no any sheep will be eating grass, etc. So they became so thirsty and so hungry, Qurayshis, that they would look into the sky seeing smoke as if it would be smoke. So it is not real smoke, but it is just illusion of a smoke, imagination of a smoke. Yeah, you see, only one Mu'tazili can give us so hard time, you know. Look guys, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar radiallahu anhu, we Hanafis are very fortunate in terms of being Hanafis, but unfortunate of not learning Hanafism. Okay, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar radiallahu anhu, Abu Hurairah wouldn't narrate hadith in the time of Abu Bakr and Umar. And after Umar died, he started releasing all of them hadith. Hadathana Rasulullah, you know. And then some of the people came saying, oh Abu Hurairah, how come you were so silent in the time of Abu Bakr and Umar? Now you are narrating the hadith. So he said, because Abu Bakr and Umar, if I would narrate the hadith in their times, Umar would beat me up. Abu Bakr and Umar used to say, do not release the narrations from the Prophet, but leave the people by the book of God. Did you understand? So now we are into fiqh, okay? We maybe memorize all of the opinions of Abu Hanifa. We memorize Sahih al-Bukhari, but what about the book of God? That is the book of guidance. Am I right? Look, only one statement, Mu'tazila are just crushing us, you know? Maybe they could do it with contemporary groups, but we Hanafis, we are people of Quran, you know? We give superiority to Quran. Abu Hanifa says, anything that I find in Quran, so that is on my head, on top of my head, and on top of my eyes. First proof is Quran. Then he goes, if I do not find that, then I go to Sunnah and I put it on top of my head and on top of my eyes. Then if it will be Sahaba contradicting, so then I will choose any of them opinions. But what about if it is Fulan, which is Tabi'in and Atba'at Tabi'in, so he says, I'm one of them. Confidence. Quran, you know, so it is. Okay, anyway. Now let's think about one thing. Destruction of Mu'tazila, very easy, I did mention it. It is ijma that there is minor signs. They accept it. So by them accepting the minor signs, they're destroying Baghta. It doesn't matter if it's 30 or over 30 ayat. Why? Because they accept that there is no major signs, but there are minor signs. What is a minor sign? Imam Mahdi coming, okay, and then a shepherd building long, tall houses. So isn't it that destroying the concept of sudden? It's destroying. Means they cannot use the ayat of suddenly. Did you understand? But yet we as Ahlul Sunnah will clarify the meaning of suddenly. When it happens suddenly. Means with no any like preparation, you know? Not saying ready, steady, go. It's not like that. Okay, but when it happens, Rasulullah did clarify. Person will milk his camel and before drinking it, Yawm al-Qiyamah, so it's unexpectedly. Okay, but not in terms of the time. Okay, but what happens when it happens? So in that time, no one was expecting, as you did clarify. But not in that after 10 signs, it's not that. But whenever it happens unexpectedly. Yeah.
So why do the Mu'tazili have to accept minor signs?
Because
they're rejecting Quran.
Excellent. Look. In here, political thing is happening. They are playing with us. Because Mu'tazila means Jafaris. 90% of Mu'tazila are Shia. They do have a concept of Mahdi. Am I right? You see, he's minor. So they are playing with us. Did you understand? Yeah. So anyway, that is one thing. And then, what about Yawm al-Qiyamah? Is it something that no one knows? Is that what Quran says? We say no, because what Allah says, لا يجليها لوقتها إلا هو. No one will disclose it to its time except Allah. Disclosing, Jalla yujalli means, for example, now you just look at me. For example, now you see me. But you cannot disclose, you cannot clearly see shape of my body. When I take off my jubba, now you see. That is tajliya. Overall we know, but the exact shape, that will happen by la yujalliha tajliya. Did you understand? So, like in terms of the concept of major signs, is not controversial to Quran. Did you understand? Because Allah is not denying, saying that it's not unexpected, but He is saying disclosing. Disclosing will be, so you may see like some understanding, but proper disclosing of exact date, that's what is going to happen by the will of God. Okay, so that is one thing. The second thing, in terms of them saying there is no any tawatur. We say in terms of ahadith of Isa alayhi salam is mutawatir. Okay? Yeah. 2-3 minutes. Look, I'm just heating up now. Oh.
Can we skip the quiz? We ask. The game is game. Yeah, skip the quiz.
No, I think everything should be on its time because we don't want to overload you.
We've got one more section of it.
This is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because the next is going to be another battle about Khidr alayhi salam, because Imam Muslim quotes Hadith. And then it says that it is Khidr in Sahih Muslim.
We've got a lesson tomorrow in studio Muslim as well.
So only one left tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you have one today?
Actually, we have one at 7:45.
Reading.
No, studio Muslim.
Studying. Okay, anyway, let me just finish it off then. Okay, anyway, so ahadith of Isa alayhi salam is mutawatir. Okay, as well as ahadith of Dajjal is mutawatir. Not mutawatir lafzi, but mutawatir manawi. Okay, as well as if you go to the Ya'juj and Ma'juj, obviously description of Ya'juj Ma'juj, for example, them coming and trying to make a hole in the wall, that is ahad, 100%. But existence of Ya'juj and Ma'juj and them coming is mutawatir. Okay, it is in Quran. Okay, as well as in terms of a dabba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses a future tense. Okay, for us to twist the future into the past is actually twisting the meaning of Quran. Did you understand? Okay, so the main concept was just to support the issue of Baghdad. Okay, you can support it if you disown all of the signs. Not only by disowning the major, but even the minor ones. Did you understand? So you have to, but they never did it. So it is by ijma that are minor. Okay, well, because Imam Mahdi is there, so they have to keep him somehow. Okay, so anyway, that is the main thing. But what about Rasulullah being afraid? It was from Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. How do you know what Rasulullah was afraid for? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains why Rasulullah was afraid for. Because Allah says, وَمَا نُرْسِلُ الْآيَاتِ إِلَّا تَخْوِيفًا. We never sent the signs except to scare. So it was prophetic reaction to the sign. Takhwif means you have to be scared. But scared of what? Just scared of God. Did you understand? As well as, if you remember, Rasulullah, so in the hadith it says that Abu Musa al-Ash'ari says, فَقَامَ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم فَزِعًا. So he was scared. Then he says, يَخْشَى أَن تَكُونَ السَّاعَةُ. So it is the understanding of Abu Musa. It's not what Prophet said. But what Prophet said at the end of this hadith, Rasulullah said, إِنَّ هَذِهِ الْآيَاتِ, eclipses and that type of signs, التي يرسل الله لا تكون لموت أحد ولا لحد. This will never happen because of a death of someone or because of a life of someone. ولكن يخوف الله به عباده. But these signs are just sent. Allah is sending to scare His people, okay, His creatures. And He says, فإذا رأيتم شيئا من ذلك فافزعوا إلى ذكره. But and whenever you will see something like that, so then be scared and go to pray. It means He's saying that there will be some more. When you get it, be scared. But not be scared of it being like Yom al-Qiyamah, but it is just Allah sending it to scare us. So you have to get scared. Okay? So, I mean, whatever they're using is not there. But only the last thing, inshallah, we're going to catch up after this, in terms of the answer of Hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam and answer of the Prophet. Why Rasulullah did not mention the major signs? That question is that we say whatever Rasulullah alayhi salam does, he does by the revelation. So as long as hadith of Isa alayhi salam is mutawatir, so Rasulullah not mentioning him in the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, it does not describe the authenticity of the mutawatir. Did you understand? Okay, so anyway, inshallah we're going to stop here.
10 minutes, so you can answer that question for 10 minutes.
Which one? I did answer already.
Oh, Dave, do you know the one that you just...
Yeah, I've answered it.
Okay.
So whatever was done, it was by revelation actually. Yeah. And the next one is actually going to be long hadith. I need maybe half an hour for that. Okay, inshallah we'll catch up after the break, inshallah.
Sheikh, just background. So there is the 10 signs.
Of
So
course.
I've always had this understanding.
Major signs are there.
That, yeah, so there's this 10 signs, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it's before because you sort of come across as the opposition, and I was like, have I been wrong all this time? And I was like, you said, we had to answer.
Isa alayhi salam and Dajjal both are mutawatir. Yajuj Majuj, it is in Quran by future tense. So Ahad is only description of Yajuj Majuj. Okay? Yeah. As well as Dabba also is by future tense in Quran. Okay.
So what about Sheikh Imran Hussein's sort of interpretation on Juj or Majuj already being in the dunya?
Okay. So it's based again on the same thing, isn't it? Rasulullah says, hadith is ahad, unfortunately. Rasulullah says that the period, so major signs are like, necklace being cut. When one happens, everything just falls. Okay, so for example, if we take Yajuj Majuj as like a Western countries, so Rasulullah says everything will expire, all of the major signs will expire within the pregnancy period of a lady, 9 months. Everything will expire. So that will go against what Maulana is saying, Maulana Imran Hussein is saying actually. Because Yajuj Majuj will come after Dajjal. Did Dajjal come before that?
No.
Isa alayhi salam coming down. Never happened. Okay, us conquering Constantinople. Okay, well, not Constantinople as Istanbul, but Constantinople from where the leader of the army is going to take out the Ark of Musa alayhi salam, where there will be staff of Musa. Did that happen? So Rasulullah in different hadith says Roma. They will take it out from conquering. It never. So it is just guessing, trying, but most likely is not right. Most likely is not right. Yes.
So Sheikh, did you say that the Mu'tazila's explanation for the sun will rise from the west was that will be on the day?
That's it. That's Yom al-Qiyamah. Yeah.
And is that the correct understanding?
No.
So that's wrong. So it's
Exactly.
different. Oh, okay.
Because there are hadith in which Rasulullah says that there will be people, okay, who will be praying. So they will understand that night was too long because they will pray tahajjud 3 times within that night. Okay, so but Yom al-Qiyamah will happen on top of disbelievers.
All right.
But this hadith says that there will be people praying tahajjud. Yeah.